Mino Line Media presents the Business First Podcast.
Hi, all, and welcome to a new episode of Business First with Sonya Alleyne. I am your host, and today I am happy to introduce you to Jessica Jones, who is the founder and CEO of the Code Group, which is a management consulting firm. Code stands for Communications, Organizational Development, and Engagement. She is also the owner of the Jessica Jones Collective, which is a coaching business. Thank you so much for joining us, Jessica.
Thank you for having me, Sonya. It's nice to meet you.
Yes. So it sounds like from you being you're a serial entrepreneur and the types of businesses that you have, it seems like you like finding solutions.
I do. I really do. And I think that was something that I was born with. I remember from a very young age, my dad said, if you can't be the boss, you don't want to play. And then he didn't say it in a nice way because, sometimes when people say that to a girl, it's like, oh, you're just bossy. And he was like, no, you're a natural leader. So I think I like kind of coming up with the solutions and really trying to be authentic and autonomous kind of in my thinking and kind of the ideas that I bring to different clients. So, yes.
And so for the Code Group, Code stands for, as I mentioned in the opening, Communications, Organizational Development, and Engagement. What was it about those three things that you saw as a perfect intersection for business?
Yeah, so I'm a co-founder of the Code Group. My business partner, Chris Edmonds, and we found when we started our business that all of our clients really wanted to work with us. We worked for a different consulting firm based in Washington, D.C. at the time. And they just kept saying, well, we just want you to. Do we really have to go through them? And we thought, why are we doing this? Let's take the middleman out of it. I'd always wanted to go out on my own and start my own thing. So my degrees and my background is in communications and public relations, which naturally leads to employee engagement and change management. My business partner, Chris, his background is in organizational development and psychology. So it was just a natural, and I remember brainstorming the name and I said, people are going to think we're a coding company, like we do computer things. And I was like, I don't know anything about computers. So I was like, I don't think this is going to be good. And he was like, no, we'll explain to people. So it really did kind of come up with us having the code and the solutions to provide our clients with the best ideas and approaches for any transformational needs, organizational change, that sort of thing.
What have you found, even when you were starting to create the company? What was it in the marriage of you and Chris? It is Chris. I'm sorry.
Chris, yes.
In the marriage of you and Chris in business, what was it that you thought that you were going to bring that was unique to all the things that you had done in your traditional jobs? What did you think that this was going to be a unique? Where did you think it was going to be a unique offering?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think for both of us, we are trained facilitators. We're both coaches. And we were naturally just we play off of each other very well. I would say of the two of us, I'm probably a little bit more gregarious and outgoing. Chris is a real analytical thinker. So we see things from different perspectives, but we always get to that same solution. So it's really nice because, we play off of each other really well. But I think really what gave us that natural solution, like I said, is people were just kind of drawn to working with us, and they would say, hey, we want you to do strategic planning. Can you guys facilitate this meeting? Jessica, can you design this for us? Really like what you're doing with this. Can you do something similar for us? So we've had a lot of success just kind of moving in that way.
There's been a lot of conversation around authentic leadership. What does authentic leadership mean for you and for your company?
I love that question because that is really kind of what I built my business on, was being authentically me. No one else can be you. I think we all know that innately, but sometimes we start to question ourselves, and we may even have like imposter syndrome where we're like, do I have the skills? Am I ready? Should I do this? But I think when we stop kind of questioning that and we trust our authenticity and kind of what we bring to the table and just being creative, I think that anybody really can bring something unique and a different perspective. So for us, really just being genuine, being who I am, not changing that based on the client, based on the work that we do. We do everything from insider threat education for the Department of State to social work with the Association of Social Work Boards. So we have worked with a large gamut of clients. And like I said, we do individual clients, coaching clients. But just being naturally who you are and just being authentic and kind of leaning into that, I think really makes that connection with people. And even if, with the things that we're doing, like training and communications, it helps people relate to you. And I think it breaks down those walls of communication if people are kind of concerned about being judged, or, you know, are they here to preach at me, whatever the case may be. I think when you really kind of just become your full self, people are like, oh, that felt really natural.
What has been some of your discoveries with clients in the work that you do?
It's been interesting road. Oftentimes I find that being the only person of color, the only Black woman, maybe the only woman in the room, it's often, you know, maybe you're dismissed. Maybe they say, oh, yeah, you know, that's a great idea. But they move on, and then someone else repeats your idea. And it's like, man, Tom had such a great idea. And I was like, well, it's great when I said it 5 minutes ago. So I feel like that's been a real challenge. Really, when I started my business, I was probably 35. So even then, it felt like a bit of ageism of, are you old enough to know how to do this? Do you really have the experience? And I was just telling someone that I actually had a lady ask me, well, what qualifies you to do that? And when she asked me that, in the moment, I was really taken aback. And I was like, wow. And I thought, you know, I'm one of those people, I go back and I think about things in my head. And I was like, well, you know, I have a unique experience, and everything that I've done up to this point is the reason I have the opportunity to do it. And I'm being trusted with it. So it just felt really, I don't know. It was really uncomfortable being asked that by a woman who I thought was kind of a trailblazer in what she was doing, but she questioned me in that same way. So I think that's just always going to be something that we as women, we as people of color will be challenged with.
And in fact, you bringing that up is making me think about, what is it that we can do, or what is it in your coaching that you do to help people understand how to maintain their confidence. We're always going to be a little shaky about, you know, what we bring to the table. We maybe sometimes feel like, you know, our confidence is eroding, or that we don't have the, you know, the exact skills, particularly for folks who are new in business or new in a particular area. And so what is it that you tell people, or how is it that you coach them through feeling better and feeling more confident about the work that they have to do?
I love that question. For me, it's just about continuing to move forward. Don't stall, don't wait, don't hesitate. You know, if it's starting your business, the first thing that I would tell anybody is just do it. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to know exactly kind of how you're going to get there. It's just having clarity on your why. So knowing what it is that you're trying to accomplish, and really just kind of starting. When I built my business, oh my God, it was like building the plane that you were trying to fly at the same time. And it was like, I need all the pieces and they're not coming together quite yet. But I think that's just a part of entrepreneurship and learning as you go, because, you know, each one teach one. What I've learned, I want to actually help other people of color, entrepreneurs, learn how to set up a government consulting firm, how to actually get these types of clients, how to reach out and inspire others to do the same. But when I'm talking to my coaching clients, it's really just keep moving forward, because if we stall, if we stop, we're never going to get there. Even baby steps are still progressing us forward, right? We don't have to be in a full on run. We don't have to be flying. But if we're taking those small steps, doing the little things, it's still helping us to progress in a way.
Organizational development is one of the things that a lot of small businesses struggle with. What would you suggest to anyone listening in terms of just understanding the importance of it, and why they may need to hire someone or to rethink how they're running their business?
Absolutely. Well, you know, everything, we can't really talk about DEIA anymore. That's really kind of a passe thing to talk about, but we really do want people to understand that having diverse perspectives within your organization only helps it to be better. Like you have
Mm.
more thoughts, you have more perspectives at the table, you have different life experiences. And that's everything from, people of color to different ages. We worked with a client once that about 90% of their clientele or their personnel was all women. And the first thing they said to me was, "We don't have a diversity problem. We have Black people on our staff." And I was like, "You've got 3 men." And I was like, "That's a problem." And they just didn't see it as a diversity issue, but it was like they weren't getting that voice of a man at the table. So it was just interesting how we see it, but kind of encouraging having cultures where you're inviting in different perspectives. I always use the analogy when we're doing training on DEIA that diversity is being invited to the party, inclusion is being asked to dance. So we all kind of remember that from being in like the 7th grade. You may be at the party, but if nobody ever asks you to dance, it's like, well, what did I come for? So you want to be invited to the conversation. You want to be a part of it. And I think that is something that organizations should encourage.
Yeah.
Really hearing
Why
different perspectives.
why do you think that they miss that so often today in 2025?
You know,
Why, with all the conversation, with all of the data that shows the benefit of having a diverse team and having diverse thought, why is it that people still miss that in particularly in big business?
yeah, I think we are set in our ways. No matter how
Yeah.
much we've tried to weave it into the culture, 95% of CEOs are still white males. And if you don't see yourself at the next level, if you're not represented at the table, it's just a lot of the same. What they say is culture fits, who feels comfortable, who do I want to work with, who did I work with in the past. And they bring in people that I call people in their cul-de-sac, people they live around, people they know, people they network with. And it's just bringing in your own people. So I know we tend to do that. I even do that with my own business. I get it. But it's also kind of when you're thinking about from a big business perspective, do we have those people in the room to represent? And if you don't have them in a leadership role, do you have those resource groups that you could reach back to? Do you have different um, platforms that people could actually speak to and kind of offer different suggestions?
So I've reviewed a lot of core values for different companies, and you have 8 grouped in 4. But the ones that really stuck out for me were peace and growth, which I love as a core value, and confidence and friendliness. Those were the 2 that stuck out for me. Um, why are these part of your core values for your organization?
I have never wanted to work with someone that didn't have those values. I find that when I go to work every day, I have someone on my team. She might be the nicest person I've ever met in my life. Today was actually her birthday, and we wanted to do so much to celebrate her because she's
Right.
friendly. She brings that level of peace. And right now, with everything going on, really kind of leaning into that level of how can we bring peace within our own company and how can we bring that to the clients? Because I feel like everything is like in turmoil right now. No one knows from day to day, especially in the government realm, like what's coming next, what's going to happen to my job. And we know they're making changes, but at the same time, what can we do to actually support our clients so they feel like they are having that environment that people want to come to work? They want to do the things that can pitch in and help out and really be mission driven. So for me, peace and growth is all about just owning kind of who you are, but loving what you do at the same time. And for me, peace and peace is where it's at because I don't feel like I've always had that in my career. So we were very intentional to make that one of our values. I started out my career in crisis PR, and there's nothing peaceful about that. It was a very hard lesson to learn as my first real professional job. And I learned very quickly that that was not for me because I just don't do well under really stressful situations. It's just not my thing.
Mhm.
I can be creative and I can come up with solutions, but being the person in front of the media is not, it's not for me.
We'll be right back after this message.
For us, it's
Yeah.
so important. And every training we do, we just did a webinar with a private company last week. And when we finished, they were like, you guys are so warm. You make it where people want to talk to you. We don't feel judged. Like, we just feel good about talking to you. And that's how I want everybody to leave every conversation with me. I have a couple of books out. When people pick up my book, I want them to think, wow, she really kind of gets it. She's a person who kind of understands the perspective. And I want them to leave with this feeling better, not worse. I always want to leave people in a better place.
So can you further explain the importance of really living your core values? I think people understand the importance of creating a mission statement, creating their core values, and then they live somewhere on the website, or they may live in the employee handbook. But the importance, I can see that you light up, right, when you talk about the core values, and so I believe that you all really live the core values, and if you could just speak a little bit about why that's so important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I truly believe every leader has to lead by example. You have to show your team what you want your culture to be, how you want to interact within your team and for your clients. So if you don't walk the walk and talk the talk, what's the point? Don't put it on your website. But we're so intentional about ours. I'm sure you saw, but even the colors with our logo kind of match up with our values. We wanted those to be warm. We wanted them to be inviting. Green really speaks to confidence and growth. The fuchsia really speaks to happiness. So we were very
Mhm.
intentional to think through kind of our branding. But as a spiritual person, someone who grew up in the church and kind of still being that person in my own personal life, I just want to walk through life in a way that I feel like I'm adding something to society in a good way, even if it's something really small. Like I said, even if it's passing a neighbor and they haven't seen anybody all day that smiled at them or said hello. If I can make a small difference to them in that day, it means something to me. So obviously I want it to be on a larger level and really doing something to help organizations and clients. But for me, it's really about everyday actions that you have to live and breathe.
Speak to us a little bit about the Jessica Jones Collective, which is your coaching business. So when did you start it, and why did you
Yeah.
start it?
So I'm super proud of this. It's my thing. It's still affiliated with the code group though, but
Mm.
um in 2024, I want to say late 2024, I'm one of those people. I love a good planner. I love my to-do list. It is like my jam. So I was sitting there and I'm doing research at the end of the year. I'm always kind of preparing for the next year, thinking through like, what do I want to do? Not really doing a vision board, but having in my mind, like, here's some goals that I would like to work towards. And
Mm.
as I was doing that, I was doing research for planners and I was like, it's not what I'm looking for. I just never really found the thing that I was looking for. And I was like, well, why don't I just create it? And when doing that, I was like, well, maybe my clients would want this. Well, maybe they would want some motivational products. And it all just kind of naturally morphed for my coaching business. It was my LLC for my coaching clients, but it was one of those things that I was like, if I can be a small piece of motivation for them every day, whether it's sitting on their desk as a little cube, this is a part of my product line, where they're just looking at it as a small reminder. This one says, write it, believe it, do it. I have tumblers, even if it's just something small that they glance at during the day to give them just a little pick me up, it means something to me. So, yeah, that was why I wanted to start that business and kind of lean into the product base.
Was it an extension of the of people that you had met through the business? Is that how it naturally happened, or these were just connections that you had, people who needed the support, and you said, well, why not do that?
Yeah. So Chris and I, when we first started our code group business, we were trained facilitators. Like I said, we did a lot of strategic planning. And at
Right.
some point, we were both like, we should really think about being certified coaches because a lot of people kind of look to us for that strategic advisor coaching perspective. So we went through the full program, and as the company, it doesn't really make sense if I'm coaching 20 clients for it to come into the code group. So for us, we kind of did our own thing coaching wise, unless we're hired by a client. So this is for my individual coaching clients. And for me, it was about getting to them in a natural way. Like I said,
Okay.
I wanted them to have little reminders. I even have what I call my 2-minute coaching sessions. I put those on social media, and it's really a 2-minute video. I don't have enough content to do a podcast because I don't have the time, but I wanted to get them something that they could actually just watch really quickly, take in something, have a few 5 steps that they could actually implement and use daily. So they don't have to, pay that big amount to really get something from it. And that is actually what my second book is going to be on. It's 2-minute coaching.
Okay. Well, talk about the first book. The first book is titled.
Yes, that is called Decoding Toxic Workplaces. So that really kind of grew from the code group and all of the lessons that we learned with trying to help organizations with their culture. Like, what do leaders bring to the table? How are they doing this wrong? What's happening? Things like favoritism, how that affects different companies, nepotism, leaning into gossip and talking about people, like how this can actually just make a culture toxic. And like I said, we, at some point, our tagline, marketing changes over time. It was helping people love what they do. And that's really what we wanted to do from the very beginning, was to help people feel like, I want to go to work every day and I want to love what I do. So my goal with Decoding Toxic Workplaces was to help people move out of that and to give them real solutions on, okay, if you have a gossip problem, here's what you can do. Here's how you can lean away from that. Here's how you take that out of your culture, so they can move away from it and start to have more positive experiences.
Yeah. You hear a lot of employees talk about being in toxic work environments. What has been some of the feedback from folks who have read the book in terms of understanding how they can either exist better in an environment, or if they're a leader, how they can change the environment?
I have so many people say, do you remember you said on page so-and-so? And I'm like, no, I don't. But tell me, what did I say? They're like, I had a similar experience to exactly what you described. And oftentimes I've had a lot of women say, the thing that I was mentioning about people who take your idea and no one ever speaks up for you in that moment. I read once that with the Obama administration, they were very intentional to have all the voices at the table. So when they would do that to a woman in a meeting, someone would speak up on her behalf and be like, yeah, that was a wonderful idea when Sonya said it 5 minutes ago. I want people to know, like, this is not just something that I'm doing. There are tons of organizations that are doing this, but we want to do it in a positive way. But that's just one of the examples that I've had people say, yes, that happens to me all the time.
And what is the second book that you are working on?
It's called The 2-Minute Coach. So it's going to be on different topics. So everything from imposter syndrome to how to start a workout program. And it's really a one-pager of, okay, here's what it is. Here's 5 things that you can implement to just get started on a different goal. So it's going to be divided into categories. I'm so excited about it. It's going to be everything from family to marriage, how to lean into conflict in your marriage, how to have that conversation, different relationships, friendships, your own personal growth, and even business. So if someone wants to start a business, like some 2-minute coaching on that.
You mentioned that you love to-do lists. Are there, as a problem solver, a natural problem solver, are there any other tools or strategies that you implement regularly that really work for you that may help someone who's listening?
The biggest thing I would say to someone for my entire career is bringing the solution, not just the problem. And I think this works so well for me with clients because, one, I love to be autonomous. I want the ability to kind of come in, do what I do well, provide that to the client. If they don't like it, that's perfectly fine. Just give me the feedback and I'll go make the changes. It's not about the feedback. It's really about just having that creative ability to bring something different to the table. But for me, what has worked so well is to just continuously try to reinvent myself and not compare myself to others, but always trying to do better than I did before. So for my State Department client, I've been working with that client since 2017, and that was our first big government contract that we got with the code group. And for them, every year, it's the same work that I'm doing. I'm education and training worldwide, trying to reach everybody. And I'm so proud of the work we're doing. But every year, it's like, okay, that was great. Now, what are you going to do next year? So it's always, they always push for more and more and more. So I'm always pushing myself to like think outside the box. How can I be creative? To the point that last year we were doing podcasts, which it never happens internally. We do a lot of video creation, and people are always like, how did you learn how to do this? And I'm like, self-taught, YouTube, just playing around, trying it. So like I said, just bringing the solution and trying new things and being creative.
So aside from the new book, what else are your goals for the next year?
Ooh, that's a great question. So Jessica Jones Collective is in full swing. Every season, I'm trying to release a new collection. Coming up for summer, I'm trying to prepare college students before they go off. I want them to have like a little goodie bag that people can give them. So it would include things like a tumbler, reusable bag, since in Maryland we don't you have to pay for a bag now in Maryland, but so reusable bags, a little notebook that has like an affirmation right up front. So I wanted to provide that to students before they go back to school, even teachers or professionals. So I know people tend to see September or August as almost a restart. It's almost like another January for most people. It's a refresh or restart. So my summer product line is really to help focus on that and give people a fresh start in the second quarter or the second half of the year. Other than that, like I said, pushing out this second book, I'm really excited to get that out to readers. And I want it to be one of those things that they pick up. They don't have to read it from front to back. I want them to say, oh, I had that terrible argument with my husband today. Let me pick this up. What does she say about, talking about conflict? And just flip to that page, read it, and then move on with their day. But I want it to be something that they can reuse over and over again. And then just building on our client base with the code group, really growing our government and private industry clients.
And so how can people reach you or contact you or even follow you on social?
Yeah, so on social, Code Group doesn't do a lot of social because we're a consulting firm and it doesn't work. We tried it, but it didn't work. So if people want to find me on social, Jessica Jones Collective, on Instagram. I have a LinkedIn page. Please find me and connect with me. And I will share those links with you, Sonya. But I would be happy for people to follow me. Like I said, I try to do coaching, inspirational stuff on a regular basis. And thecodegroup.org is my company site, and jessicajonescollective.com.
Well, thank you so much, Jessica, for coming and sharing your insights. I will be following you. I'll be looking forward to your new book, and we wish you all great success in the future.
Thank you so much for having me. It was such a pleasure to talk to you today.
Same here. Same here. And thank you all for listening. We'll be back again next week with another great guest. Take care.
The Business First podcast is hosted and produced by Sonya Alleyne. Executive producer Ken Johnson. Find the Business First podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Odyssey, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, TuneIn, or wherever you get your podcast. On social media on IG at business_first_podcast. Follow the Mean Old Line Media Podcast Network on IG at Mean Old Line Media. Get the Mean Old Line Media app in the App Store or Google Play. The Business First podcast is a Mean Old Line Media production.